I've also, in accordance with one of the other legislative council members, we've created the first radio show, KCSB Radio AS, where we discuss everything like that. So first off, as IVP, I'd like to better communications between campus staff, organizations, and associated students. I'd really like to push responsibilities of legislative council members, as I've already been doing so through bills like the one I wrote to add a public address requirement to all ledge member duties. Also, I'd like to open up Associated Students and make it available for everyone. I want to make sure people know the resources in which Associated Students has to offer.
Ian, go ahead.
Right. Well, as you know, my name is Ian Taylor, and I'm running for the position of Internal Vice President because I value each and every voice of the student on this campus. My most serious concern is the accurate, thorough, and educated representation of each student in both the realm of AS Legislative Council and UC administration. As a new Legislative Council member at the beginning of my term, I knew painfully little about the processes and the mechanisms that really made AS tick. We had a retreat at the beginning of the year where we were essentially going to learn about these processes, where it was outlined to do such, and I found that by the end of it, I really just learned how to run a campaign for students' money. I had to learn by doing during my term as a representative, trial and error style, and a lot of us new learners felt excluded, and some of us even resigned. We lost students' elected voice, and to me, this is a tragedy, simply because of an underestimation. The job of Internal Vice President is to educate, facilitate, streamline, and make effective the voice and the concern of the student. I can do this. I do this every week. As your first pro tem, your vice president, I'm working with the actual sitting internal vice president to objectively format and edit every single bill that comes to that table. From Iraq to Santa Barbara, students are concerned, and I want their voices heard. Having myself chaired the meetings in the absence of our current IVP, I've successfully achieved this objective protection of the voices on that council, a necessary objectivity. Let me tell you how I can expand this representative style as your IVP. I'd re-enliven the defunct first-year council because, believe me, there are so many interested first years who need the experience to continue on as good leaders. I would provide training to each individual legislative council member on how to work the system. You can't create leadership without giving tools to the leaders. And I would take AS to the students, bring meetings to the students, take it into student territory. I'm running with OPP because I believe every student should have an opportunity to represent himself. Ian Taylor for IVP.
Now I'll begin with the first question. Ian, this is for you. How do you deal with confrontation in the office and with students whose opinions differ from your own?
I remember very pointedly that I'm an elected person because they trust me representing their voice. My opinion, I feel, is surrendered at that point. My opinion is that of the students. If there's a confrontation, I represent my constituency as best as possible. And in the office, this is where we work generally. I try not to keep the confrontations in front and visible in front of everybody. But I understand that that's part of the position. My best tactic would be to provide them with the information I've been given, provide them with the connections I have so that they can themselves better educate and make pointed decisions based upon that information they've been given. Confrontation is not necessary in student government. Discourse, polite discourse, is necessary to avoid this confrontation. I don't think it needs to be a problem, as long as people are educated, which I feel I can do.
Matt, the same question for you. How do you deal with confrontation in the office and with students whose opinions differ from your own?
In such a diverse campus, we're often going to be faced with diversity of opinions, and we're definitely going to meet a lot of confrontations, especially within the campus and on legislative council, in the AS office and whatnot. I definitely think it's something that is a result of people getting to know each other, working together, and definitely building respect for each other. I'd definitely like to keep people informed on what they can do as students to better their voice and make sure that all voices are heard. And so, by use of like the retreats that Ian's mentioned already, having a retreat every quarter so student leaders can get together and understand and respect each other's positions through knowledge and education. I'd also, like to open up this Associated Students and offer quarterly or bi-quarterly training sessions on how to write legislation in order to diversify opinions that do come to Legislative Council. And I'd also like to implement more working meetings. I'd like to restructure the way they work. I'd like to have the working meeting the second week of the quarter, so as Legislative Council can prepare their group projects, work out any issues they may have with each other in a more comfortable setting, and then allow for a debriefing at the end of the quarter where we can check up on progress and prepare for the following quarter. Confrontation is definitely an issue, but as long as everyone is educated, which is definitely something we can do as a student body and something I would like to facilitate, as long as everyone is educated on the issues, we shouldn't have much of a problem with confrontation.
Matt, this question is for you. How do you plan to educate incoming freshmen on the vast opportunities available in AS and get them involved?
I would plan on working with the Committees on Committees coordinator to help prepare the AS committees fairs that are held once a quarter, make those known. I've definitely have the experience with RHA, and I have no problem going to RHA meetings, going to the various dorms and making sure that people are aware of the availability and the opportunities within Associated Students. Also, the first year council is another issue. It's been defunct for the past year. So getting that going, discussing with people who can maybe, just working with RHA actively to gain student leaders and maybe get people who are in a position to be able to get that up and running will definitely enable first years to get involved, and it will allow first years to come to AS and feel welcome. So we can open up AS and make it available to first years through a variety of different ways, all of which I'm open to looking into and have already done so.
And same question. How do you plan to educate incoming freshmen on the vast opportunities available in AS and get them involved?
Right. Well, let's be aware that a majority of the first-year students are residents here at UCSB. Serving now as an on-campus representative and on visiting each and every RHA board meeting, I'm aware of how RHA works and how to get access to these students. First thing we can do is, upon moving in, provide them with a letter from Associated Students, put my email at the bottom, letting them know about the opportunities available to them in this organization. Upon moving in, start that connection from day one. Follow up then with regular discourse via campus-wide documentation, via campus-wide media, i.e. the Nexus, i.e. our new AS publication. Follow up, provide them with new opportunities, inform them of new appointments, inform them of new positions. Mainly, it's just a problem of communication. I know the first years are interested. They hear about AS, they get excited. Unfortunately, in those first formative weeks, not a word is said. Start from day one. Send them a letter, give them an email, make a contact, show your face. This is your job. You're here to show them that this is their organization. They have just as much right as any other student on this campus as first years. And a good way to do that would be to hit them on day one, moving in, information packets, whatever, and my email. Most stress point, phone numbers even. I want to know, I want to know, I want to know. Your information is so important to me. That's what the role of IVP is in this organization, is protect that voice. Let them know that they can use it their entire term here as academics at UCSB. Thank you.
Ian, this question is for you. Many of the existing AS boards and committees are defunct or sparsely attended. How do you plan on fixing this so AS can fully function?
I'd like also to address the new development in AS committees and boards. It's incredible the work that's been done this year to fill these and to reliven them. It's wonderful work that's been done on behalf of our Legislative Council members. I have such faith in my peers, it's incredible. I'd like to continue this progress on re-enlivening these boards, re-enlivening these committees, speaking directly with, getting an active and interested and attached director of the committees is a very important goal, primarily. Again, I'd like to repeat that provide them with the opportunities early on. If you're interested in student governance, if you're interested in your student body career here at UCSB, give them the opportunities from day one. Write them an email, keep it steady. Let them know you're interested, because we are. So obviously that's going to be a side effect of my interest. Also, this first-year council is important. Getting that first-year council going will create other conduits through which these people can access our committee on committees and fill these in. I mean, it's incredible how diverse these things are. If you guys could see a list of this, you know, I'll send it in my first email. How's that? If you guys could see a list of these things, it's incredible the variety that's available. And in that this is a diverse campus, constantly diversifying, they'll be filled. The work that will be done is incredible. I have such faith in our student leaders here. They just need the tools to do it. They need the training, that's all. So I'll provide the training, show them where to use it. Thank you.
Matt, same question. Many of the existing AS boards and committees are defunct or sparsely attended. How do you plan on fixing this so AS can function fully?
I really feel this year the legislative council members have done a really good job in recruitment. I mean, we finally have a judicial chair. That's something we haven't actually had for a while. So judicial committee is actually getting going, and I really respect the people who have taken the time to do that. And something I'd really like to work on is the transition training before the new year starts, as I'd really like to get the people who've been active in recruitment to train with everything they know, train these new ledge members who will be the ones doing the same thing next year. That's one of the main tools in transferring this education, and being able to gain members for these committees, making sure that there are no defunct committees is a big deal. And so if we can work together with the people who have the knowledge now and add a diverse slate like Students Party, we can definitely fill all of the chairs and all of the committees, boards, committees, and commissions that AS has to offer. Training, definite. Again, the academic fairs will allow students to be aware of the various organizations and committees and whatnot that is available to them. And just by providing information to first years who don't even know about the committees yet, and to other people who may have been fearful of coming into the AS office, just trying to open that up to them, maybe even bring it to them, doing things to spread the word outside of this office. Will be a big help in gaining members on these committees. So transition training is going to be a very big deal, and I'd really like to implement that. That'll be a really good thing, like a peer-to-peer training once we have a new elected ledge council.
Hey Matt, this question is for you. As IVP, you are accountable for yourself as well as the entire legislative council. Given this, what is your leadership philosophy?
Ooh. Leadership philosophy. Well, I'd really like to be a strong support for the students. I'd like to, be able to guide them, or be a support and a backing for them, and have them be allowed to come to me so that they can shine themselves. I don't want to be the main face. I want to be able to provide the information and the base of knowledge so that each member can themselves write legislation, work actively with boards and committees, and be their own star within legislative council. I'm really going to be the backing position, the support, the quarterback for all of the legislative council, and I really think that'll definitely help. Leadership is a good thing. I've definitely had a lot of diverse training, whether it was in high school, whether it was within RHA and learning how to work with the residents, or if it's off campus and working with different organizations off campus. I've definitely seen the diversity in the ways people meet, the formalities, the informalities of how different committees function, and I feel like I can appeal to all of them and provide a backing and support, a source of knowledge, and allow everyone to be able to function. I can provide all of the information needed, all of the tools, just to let everyone shine themselves and accomplish what they what their agenda is for the year as legislative council members.
Ian, as IVP, you are accountable for yourself and the entire legislative council. Given this, what is your leadership philosophy?
As IVP, you do represent and you are responsible for that council, and I appreciate that role. But I'd like, however, to preempt any need to necessarily inform anyone of the actions of the council with whom I would work, because in my training, in the initial meetings with these individual representatives, I would push, I mean, it's a necessity, I don't even need to push, I would stress that these people are to rule as objective, conciliatory, knowledgeable, open, and accessible leaders. If they fulfill all of these standards, everyone will know exactly what's going on. It'll be clear, it'll be upfront, it'll be smooth in its operations. It's an important role of the role of leader is very important. The role of leader is also very open. You've put yourself in a position to represent students. My leadership style would be such that in representing students, they're to interact with students. And they would learn this from day one. They wouldn't sit there, twiddle their thumbs, watch people put them on the side, and push whatever agenda it may be. I'm not here to discuss that. I'm here to discuss the fact that my council, in its training and in its ideology, would be open and accessible, and that I would be proud of any action, of any work carried out by my legis, because they would be doing it within the best interests of the students.
Ian, what is your definition of accessible and accountable?
Accessible. You're a representative. You're elected by a large number of the students here at this campus. Accessible means they can speak to you as such. And as such, you then represent them accurately. I feel that the accessibility, my definition of accessible is A, a necessity, B, part and parcel for the position. Your face needs to be there, your name needs to be there. If they've elected you, they know who you are. Let them know how to get in contact with you. Accountable. As a representative, your job now is to represent them honestly and objectively. Accountable is also part and parcel. Accountability for a representative means that they remain honest and true to the opinion of their constituency. I feel that, again, these are rules and that these are, again, part and parcel for the role of legislator here at UCSB.
Matt, same question. What is your definition of accessible and accountable?
First off, starting with accessible, definitely we need a visible legislative council where all members are accessible. Through, I've already started on stuff like that through Radio AS. Every week, students can tune in to have legislative council members and various guests. We've had all of the execs on before. So definitely, students can call in and ask any questions that are needed of us. And that's something that I'd plan on continuing next year, whether I need to train students on how to run the controls themselves or if there's someone already on the council who knows how. That's one thing that I'd like to continue running. Also, the legislation that I wrote for the public address requirement, that's definitely something that's going to make people accessible and show the accountability for which Leg Council members are being held to. They're required to address the public once a quarter to inform the students what they've been working on and what they're doing and how they are representing their constituency, whether it's on campus, off campus, university owned, or at large. Accountable, to hold the Leg members accountable and the execs as well. I'd like to definitely enforce office hours to the most level scrutiny. In attending meetings, there's a diversity requirement that you have to attend one meeting of a traditionally underrepresented minority. Implementing that and making them aware of their constituency, whether they're a part of that minority or a part of that social group or a part of that group of thought, that's definitely something that's a part of accountable. Also, as an IVP, I need to hold the administration accountable and accessible to students. We need to make sure that they are doing what the students feel is necessary, that they are running under the agenda that the students want, because they are here to serve us.
This question is for Matt. How will you, as overseer of Legislative Council, how will you ensure that the Legislative Council uses student initiative funds in the best interest of the UCSB campus community?
Campus funds, eh? Well, definitely I'm going to ask students to attend Finance Board as much as possible, maybe even implement some type of requirement asking each rep to go at least once a quarter. That way they can directly see the way funds are spent, and definitely implementing, making students, the Ledge members, read over the minutes of Finance Board and understanding how the money was spent, what discussion took place, and why money was spent the way it is, especially now once that the student initiative has passed and they have such a large sum of money. We need to definitely hold all of the organizations accountable. We need to maybe even set up an oversight committee within Finance Board to make sure that the fees that Finance Board distributes are used correctly, hold people like Arts and Lectures accountable for the money that they're spending, make sure that they are available to students and providing resources to students, not just to community members. I mean, although that's important, it's the student's money, and that should be their first concern. So it's definitely as an internal vice president, it would definitely be my position to oversee the way funds are spent, but I'd also like to pass that down and make sure that the Ledge Council members know how the money is being spent, so that within the meetings there can be open discussion, knowledgeable and educated discussion on how the money was spent, why, and whether or not it's being used in that way.
Ian, as overseer of Legislative Council, how will you ensure that the Legislative Council uses student initiative funds in the best interest of the UCSB campus community?
Right. Well, a lot of what has been said is already established. The fact of the matter is not a lot of Ledge Council knows exactly about these rules because of the fact that we weren't necessarily trained most thoroughly. That can be fixed from the beginning of the term of each representative. Inform them of their role and their relationship with Finance Board. Make appropriate appointments to Finance Board as well from the Legislative Council. And then also, in my introduction to the students and welcome to the university, inform them that a lot of money of their fees goes towards the Students Initiative and goes towards a lot of those activities and organizations here on campus. Inform them of this, and also inform them that Finance Board is available for attendance by the students. They work on their behalf. The fact of the matter is we have the procedures in place, it's just that people don't know about them. The students don't know about them. We can fix this simply by information. Day one, welcome to the university. Hey, here's some bit information about AS. You remember Students Council? Welcome to the university. You're paying a lot of money. Do you want to know what it's for? Here's what AS can tell you about it. It's important just to inform. And with my Legislative Council, that's what I can do on a smaller scale, and yet on a more effective scale, is from the beginning of each of their terms, tell them about their relationship with Finance Board. The minutes are available. That's part of their responsibility, is to read the minutes before they're approved, FYI. If you have responsible Leggies, if you have informed Leggies, they'll be acting in an accountable and in an honest fashion in relationship with the students' money. Simple as that. Let the students know how they can get involved. Let the involved legislative members know how to be honest and clear with that funding. And then you've got clear paths to financial accountability. Thank you.
Ian, what is the biggest issue concerning the UCSB campus, and how will you use AS as a vehicle to effect change?
Running with OPP, I feel that the biggest issue affecting the UCSB campus is apathy, perhaps on behalf of the campus as a whole, the student body as a whole. I've had the privilege of working with some of the most informed, involved, and active students on this campus, but I feel that there can be much more accomplished with the involvement of those students otherwise not represented on Ledge Council. In saying this, my direct approach to solving this apathy is involving the students in AS, directly or indirectly. If they don't decide to come to the meeting, bring the meeting to them. Simple as that. Take the gavel outside. Take the meeting outside, set the tables where the students are. That's one direct approach to affecting this apathy. A second would be, again, through consistent communication. You hear about one bill that's passed, two bills that's passed about every other week or so, and you don't know how it happened, whom to speak to, where to tell your disagreement or your agreement. It's unfortunate. Make those conduits known. We're accessible individuals. We're here to work on your behalf. We get excited doing this stuff. That's why we ran. That's why we're here. And we have a good time. And I want everybody else to have a good time and be involved with their own governance. They're here. These are their fees. I can't stand thinking that people who would otherwise be voicing themselves might not do so simply because of a lack of knowledge. And that's so easy to fix. That's so easy to fix. At the very beginning of the year, let them know. It's simple. Thank you.
Matt, what is the biggest issue concerning the UCSB campus, and how will you use AS as a vehicle to affect change?
From the perspective of an internal vice president, it would appear that the biggest issue to AS would be student involvement and making students have a voice. It definitely seems important to implement coalition building, as many students are involved in organizations that may not be connected with AS, whether it's the Greek community or anything like that. They have smaller ties with AS. I mean, there is a Greek liaison, but that's something different. There's other things also. And in incorporating them and making AS open to all those organizations, we are outreaching to a group of active students, people who are already prepared to take part within their student government and effect change. But not only that, we need to outreach to the people who are not aware of their resources to get involved, whether it's Students Stopping Rape or any of the OSL organizations. We need to make those known and allow students to take part in those, make them open, and make sure that there is enough advertising and whatnot to get these students involved. They need to have their voices heard. That's a major concern to students, whether it's opening up the media and having like a media conference once a quarter so that with all the media sources, whether it's KCSB or the Nexus or whatnot, making sure that they are all accessible, and that way they can all discuss the ways they go about, and just communication between those different groups to make sure that they are being a representative voice of the campus. So definitely, as an IVP, I would say that the biggest issue facing UCSB students is accessibility in having their voice heard and being able to take part within the campus in which they live and study. Thank you.
Okay, this will be the last question. What do you consider to be your single greatest accomplishment at UCSB this year? This is for Matt.
Ooh, snazzy. That's definitely a hard question. Overall, I definitely feel like I've done a really good job in providing resources to students and making different issues heard. I've worked on a range of different issues, whether it was trying to support the Bhakti Yoga Club in their practices on campus, whether it was different rights issues with animals and human rights and whatnot. But I've also spent a lot of time structuring committees, writing legislation, and just being a really active voice on legislative council. I mean, as an off-campus representative, I'm there to represent, and I feel like that's one of my major accomplishments is I've done a really good job at making sure that people have access to me. I serve more office hours than are required of me. I typically do 5 instead of the required 3. And not only that, I'm available at Radio AS. And I've just really made myself open to the public, and I feel like I've done a really, really good job of serving the people off campus, as well as being open to the opinions of all people on campus and representing that at the Ledge Council meetings. I've definitely gone above and beyond my position as an off-campus representative, and I've done a lot to make sure that I've been active and I've been seen in the community, whether it's going to different meetings or, you know, taking part in the budget process. Like those are all things that I've done, and I feel like my biggest accomplishment this year has just been being very active and completing the off-campus representative duties above and beyond what is required of me, making myself accessible and definitely representing the students, exactly what is required of me.
Ian, what do you consider your single greatest accomplishment at UCSB this year?
That's a really exciting question. I feel that my single greatest accomplishment at UCSB this year is gaining access to the enthusiasm and the knowledge and the trust of my peers as students here. And also the enthusiasm, the knowledge, and the trust of my legislative peers. I mean, they've trusted me to act as their first pro tem. They've trusted me to edit their bills, each and every single one of them. They've trusted me to fine-tune and streamline their voices. That feels to me like an accomplishment. I mean, they've even trusted me with this new budget, this incredible new massive beast of a thing, this new budget. They've trusted me with their funds now. That to me is so heartening. I feel really accomplished. I mean, I've even earned, I feel more pleased having earned the respect from my legislative peers in the fact that I've sat up there and I've operated this meeting before, twice, with the gavel, and for some reason they've given me their respect, they've followed the Robert's Rules of Order, and they've understood that I can help them better operate as a body. I feel my greatest accomplishment is earning that respect from my student peers and from my legislative peers. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to give each candidate 2 minutes for a closing statement. We'll start with Ian.
Again, let me preface this by saying, hi, my name is Ian Taylor, and I'm running for internal vice president with OPP because I believe every student and every person has the right to a voice on this campus and the knowledge associated with utilizing that voice. Again, let me say that my most serious concern is the involvement of all the students and the information of them and how they can be involved with this body as a whole. Associated Students, it's a big deal. Again, let me talk about the retreat, how I would start from the beginning, training my legislative council, informing them of the processes, giving them a sample bill, running a sample meeting, let them know how it's done so that we can get some business done in the first couple of weeks and not lose any crucial voices from the first-year students who are just as much a student as anybody else here on this campus. I can do this. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'm doing it every week. I'm there working with the voices, working with the votes, working with the opinions, working with the students. My name is out there. I'm willing to hear. I want to hear, and I do. People trust me with their information, and I appreciate that. And I incorporate that into my governance here at UCSB. I would re-enliven that dead first-year council, let them know, yes, you can get involved, give them the training before they can even run for an executive position, and then have capable leaders throughout the entire career here at UCSB. Imagine what 4 years of involved governance could do. Training to the Ledge Council members, bring AS to the students, let them know what's going on, show them how it's done. Maybe they'll want to get involved, give them the list of boards and committees. Welcome the first-year students. A big thing to me is the welcome. Show them my name, show them my face, show them my Ledge's names and my face and their faces. The welcome is so important because that just fuels this gaucho pride that we all should have. Again, I'm Ian Taylor. I'm running for internal vice president with OPP, and gosh darn it, I'm having a good time.
Matt.
Okay, again, my name is Matt Jackson. I'm running with the Students Party. First off, I'd like to mention that I was previously a member of the OPP party. I decided to change after witnessing what's happened over the past year. I'd also like to point out that the reason for our ill training throughout the year, Ian, myself, and the rest of the members, is because of the poor choice of an OPP candidate for internal vice president. Because of that choice, we had very bad training, actually none at all. And I want everyone to make sure and be wary of candidates who have outstanding applications with other universities to transfer. That's definitely something to be skeptical about, especially when electing someone who's going to be getting student fees and whatnot to pay for their fees. So going back to my position, I'd like to definitely open up the Associated Students to all students, to make sure everyone has a chance to be heard, make sure that coalitions are built with other organizations, including the media and boards and committees. You know, we're Students Party, we're here, we've got a great slate this year. You know, just another thing myself, I've also worked in the past with alternative programming. I helped, along with a friend of mine outside of the university, to bring one of the only 18 and over clubs to Santa Barbara, making it available to much of the university and many of the constituents here. So definitely I'm a great candidate for internal vice president. I have a lot to offer. I've been very active in my position as off-campus representative. I've written a lot of legislation, much of which you can witness within our files, and some of which is going to be at the meeting today. So if you have the time, come check it out today, Wednesday, at 5 p.m. in the Flying A Room, Legislative Council. Come check it out in action. My name is Matt Jackson, and I'm running for internal vice president with Students Party.
This concludes the forum for the office of the internal vice president. We will resume forums with the office of the external vice president of local affairs, the external vice president of statewide affairs, and the student advocate general today at 1 p.m. here. So 10 minutes from now. Be back. Woo.